What's good, Slackers? Welcome back to an episode of 265. It's your boy Strizzy, and man, I'm super excited to be back. NFL week is in full effect, and we're gonna pretty much go through week 3. As you can see, I'm still alone, but that's all right. A-Dub, I think the cat's kind of out of the bag, and if it's not, I'm sorry to spoil any news, but my boy did have the baby last week, so he is a proud father. Proud father, man. I couldn't be more excited for him. So happy for him and Grace. Congratulations to them. I'm not gonna spoil the sex. I'm gonna let him do that for you guys. So when he's ready to get back on and come into this thing, like he'll tell you everything that's going on. But extremely excited for the Williams family across the board. Congratulations, pops, moms, Kelly, everybody, man. Super happy with you guys. Last Tuesday, I did roll solo as we went over the NFL week 2 and things of that nature. But today, man, you know what I'm saying? I invited my boy. He's been on the show before. Big time Ravens fan, which kind of works out great since his Ravens kind of like my side piece team as well in the AFC. Went against my boy A-Dub and his family's Cowboys this past weekend. So we'll talk about that as well. But with that being said, man, we give a warm welcome to our boy David, man. David is back in the building. What's good, my boy?
Winners only on this feed. Only club, that's why he's not here.
Yeah, he couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the pressure, man. But I was super excited, man. I want to go ahead and give a warm welcome to everyone who's come in that I haven't seen yet so far. Moms is in the building. Good evening, family. Pops, what's going on? Good evening. Steph Washington, another diehard Cowboys fan. So, welcome in, Steph. We got Kels in the building, of course. You know what I'm saying? Brand new auntie in the building, feeling it. Unc, hello from Texas. Even though he's in Texas, he's not a Cowboy fan. We love it. And I think as of right now, that's basically it if I'm not missing anybody. Yep. Yeah, man. So I see it. Congratulations on the little one. You know what I'm saying? I love that. And then Unc, said no Cowboys gear for the new baby. Loving it, man. So yeah, baby's barely, a little about a week old or so, a little over a week old. He's already getting Cowboy hate, man. We gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. So good stuff all there. With that being said, I'm gonna bring up this pretty much the NFL scoreboard from week 3. Let's see if I can figure all this fun stuff out on the fly. Bam, that's the one. There we go. All right, cool. So out of curiosity, Dave, you can still see me, right?
I can.
All right, perfect. All right, so we're going to get into it, man. We recap of NFL Week 3. Oh, damn, totally forgot. Before we get it started, the winner of the pick'em last week was our boy Anthony Weston. So shout out to Anthony. Man, congratulations winning Week 3. You know what it is, bro. You get a Super Bowl square for when we do the Super Bowl scores in February. So congratulations and to Ant on winning Week 3 in the pick'em league. But getting into it first, we got the Patriots, Jets. They took it off on a Thursday night football. And wait, was that week 3?
Yep.
Yeah, my bad. I was like, that seemed weird for a second. I forgot about the game already. How did you feel about week 3, man? I know me and you talk about Thursday night games quite often, how they can be a little lackluster. What are you thinking about the Patriots and Jets? And how actually Aaron Rodgers actually looked halfway. He looked decent. You know what I'm saying? He actually looked decent this time around.
Did he? Because I didn't watch this game because it was the Patriots versus the Jets.
Right.
So I found something else to do, and the score shows pretty much what I expected.
Exactly, right? But yeah, I did watch the game, and yeah, it's a little frustrating, right? You look at the Patriots and how well they performed probably the first 2 weeks, especially week 1, getting the victory in week 1. And it still shows that they still have a lot of problems at the quarterback position. Jacoby Brissett, although it's better to put him in and kind of let the rookie, go in blind with no real offensive weapons. The offensive line still isn't at its strength of what we're used to seeing the Patriots line and I'll say recent years back when the GOAT Tom Brady was playing. But yeah, they got manhandled, man. Like they got nothing going. They couldn't get anything going on the ground game. Ramondre Stevenson couldn't get anything going. Passing game, nothing was there. And the Aaron Rodgers connection, man, is with Lazard is looking as good as it was when they were back in Green Bay. You know what I mean? So I'm still not much of a believer in this Jets team just yet. You know what I mean? I'll be honest, but we will definitely see as it goes.
This will be a season-long thing. Like, it's going to take more and more games. Not
Oh,
really
for sure.
interested in the Jets. They'll be taking care of themselves. They
Agreed.
seem pretty healthy too, which is a big thing. So
Big
I
time, big
think they'll
time.
be just fine for the rest of the season.
Yeah, man, I completely
Interesting,
agree.
interesting thing about the Patriots. So I was thinking probably not next week, but because they play the Niners, but maybe the following week against the Dolphins,
Uh,
we're probably going to see Drake and May. Would you
yeah,
say that's true?
yeah, I probably agree with that. I know, it's always funny at the end of pressers when coaches go and when the first person that asks, with the performance of Jacoby Brissett this week, are we going to see Drake May next week? And the coach always says, no, Jacoby's our quarterback. Until I say otherwise, blah blah blah, and then 2 days after the loss, it's like Drake May is going to be starting quarterback for Week 4. You know what I mean? But I agree. I think that they're not going to pull the plug on him just yet. But if the Patriots have another poor week in Week 4, I with you, man. Especially against the Dolphins, who are struggling as well. Be a perfect time to bring in Drake May. You know what I mean? Get him acclimated against a team who's also not playing very well. Their defense not playing very well.
I mean,
Get him started.
their season's over, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And we talked a little bit last week about the Dolphins in regards to Tua, and they have him on IR, right? So he's out at least 4 games. But for me, man, if I'm the Dolphins organization, bro, protect this man from himself. You know what I mean? Take him out for the remainder of the year and make that kid go back and talk to his family on what's good for him in his future. Hit the comments really quick.
I was thinking about that. So say that everybody wants him to retire, right?
Yeah.
They want him to not play, right?
Yep.
Okay. It's in his best interest to protect his mental health. Now, I'm not saying he should play, but
Yeah.
saying that he shouldn't play and then not saying anything else after that, like that seems a little weird. Like, don't we kind of need to give him like a little bit of like leeway to kind of make his own decision? Because
Oh, of
you can
course.
tell him that he needs to retire, but at the same time, you're also taking away something that like he's really worked for a
No,
long
for
time.
sure, for sure. It's funny. I do agree with you, right? Like we can't speak for him. We can't truly speak for him any way than say me as a Panther fan wanted to speak for Luke Kuechly. You know what I mean? Like because like you're right. The NFL, NBA, MLB, like all of those organizations, associations are damn near impossible to get into, right? Like the percentage of college players that make it into the pros is what 4% or something like that, and sorry, it's less than that. I think from high school to college is like 4% or something like that, and then college to pros is like 1 to 2 or something crazy. So I totally understand what you're saying. I just think like I hope before he makes his decision, I could just say I hope he really thinks about it, because like he's had those hits where neurologically it just freezes him up. You know what I mean? It's not like the hit he gets knocked out or something like that, which also is bad, but it's the way his hits have looked, right? And this last one, I wouldn't even say it was a lethal hit. He just kind of ran into DeMar Hamlin's chest. You know what I mean? Like there was no head to head.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
a bad decision to put his head down
exactly.
like
Lower
that.
his head.
So.
They just so like if in my head I'm like, if it's that easy right now, you know what I mean? Like when's the last one? You know what I'm saying? Like when's the last one?
I mean, I don't know. Is it a hot take for me to say he should be able to make his own decision about football?
Nah, it's his life. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's definitely his life, man. It's definitely his life. To us, it's all opinionated, but for him, it's life. It's his life, and he's got to feed his family. So, I just hope, if anything, take the rest of this year off. You know what I mean? Like you just signed a contract extension. You don't technically have to go anywhere, but take the year off. You know what I mean? And just try to give your brain enough time to truly get that swelling and everything to go down.
So, question about the Jets, since we're
Yeah.
all in AFC East talk right now.
Yeah.
So, yay or nay, Jets Super Bowl contender?
No.
At this moment.
Nay. Definitely nay. Yeah, definitely nay. I think.
Why nay?
I don't think they're all there yet. I think they had a good game last week, but it's against the Patriots. You know what I mean? I think they really struggled in weeks. They lost week 1. I don't think there was anything to write home about as far as week 2 goes. And we talk about, Breece Hall hasn't really, we heard all preseason about Breece Hall supposed to be, the top 2 running back in the league. They had people.
He's already getting outplayed by his backup.
Seriously, 100%, man. And there are some people.
But that's a good thing, right? To have 2 running backs like that.
That's the direction the league's going nowadays. You know what I mean? It's good to have 2 running backs, so it's not all falling on one person. A lot of people had Breece Hall going first in, say, fantasy leagues over Christian McCaffrey. You know what I'm saying? Which to me, even with Christian McCaffrey starting out on IR, was like crazy because that's my boy. He's an absolute monster. But and I feel like the connection between it's still so early, but the connection between Rodgers and even Garrett Wilson, I don't think it's as strong as it is with Lazard. I still don't think their coach is the right guy for the job. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's,
he's coaching in the wrong era.
Right.
He's a defensive coach in like
he's a defensive coach. Yep, exactly.
Offensive era.
Pops agrees. Said terrible coach.
Despite what Mel Kiper says about too high defenses ruining the league, it's still an offensive league.
100%, man. 100%. Looking at what Pop said, he said terrible coach, old line that is likely to have injuries and miss games. Ditto about the Rodgers stuff. Yep.
Oh, I would know because a third, like 2 of those 3 players are from the Ravens.
Exactly. Ravens offensive line, definitely. Yeah, got a little bit younger this year.
I think
that's showing.
I think they'll be legit. Like I said, as the season goes on, they'll get better. Interesting part of their schedule coming up: Broncos this week. After that, at Vikings, home for the Bills, at the Steelers.
Yeah. And that's the Jets' schedule.
Yeah, for the Jets.
That's
pretty rough, but I mean it's not too crazy after that. So it's just a small stretch to get through. I think it'll be interesting to see as long as they can stay healthy.
Right. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Let's move on a little bit. So we talked about the first game. Let's talk about get into the Sunday morning matchups. We had Giants and Browns. For me, not a lot to say there. You know what I'm saying? The 2 teams
pretty much watch.
Yeah, exactly, right. Ironically enough, I'm literally betting against the Giants every single week because I just feel like they're so trash to me. And they got a dub, which is so because they got the dub. I think the Browns I think there's something to worry. I know it's only week 3, but I think it's something to worry about Deshaun Watson. This team so far in the Deshaun Watson era has looked the best when Joe Flacco was their quarterback, right? So, like, if I'm the Browns, I'm a little worried. What do you think?
I'm worried about this year and next year because, like, I wonder when, if at all, they decide to bench him and start playing Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on that because they're paying him so much. It's kind of like they're committed to him and they have to pay or they have to play him as a starter.
Yep.
But I mean, the defense is so. I thought their defense was pretty overrated last year. So, I mean, a lot of the same roster, same coaching coming back.
For sure.
I mean, it's the Browns will stay the Browns, man.
The Browns gonna Brown.
They're the Clippers. They're like worse than the Clippers of the NBA, Clippers of the NFL.
Very true, man. Very true. Completely agree, man. Next game we got Bears and Colts. We got Caleb Williams in his 3rd game going against the Colts AR, and kind of a little bit of a lackluster game.
The inaccuracy bowl.
Yeah, just seriously, it was so bad. I don't know how this is possible, but I saw something that said and I have no idea how this is possible, but if Anthony Richardson went 0 for 20 with an interception, he would have had a better quarterback rating than he did. I think he went like 10 for 20 or something like that with like an interception. I don't know how that works out, but I heard that it would have been he would have had a better quarter rating if he would have just missed every pass in that game. But
that reminds me of like I don't know. I think that's just a math thing. I don't think that's like actual like quantifying like quality or skill in that way. I think that's because I remember when Aaron Rodgers, they were talking about like his touchdown to interception rate was so low that like Nathan Peterman.
Yeah.
I think he had 5 interceptions that one game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
But
he
still
he
had a
had
high,
to he
yeah.
had to throw like a bajillion more, or I think Aaron Rodgers had to throw like 140 interceptions, and it would still be better than like Nate Peterman's rating or something. It's just a math thing. I don't know if that's exactly like a quality thing or a skill thing. So
For sure. Thinking about this game, it continues to show in the NFL that like where you go like really matters, right? I think that the Bears issue, like even kind of going back to Justin Fields, because when Justin Fields had great games, he had great games, right? But I think sometimes it goes back to just kind of like who's coaching, who's your offensive coordinator, obviously, and what they do to kind of like help their young quarterback or their quarterback in general just be successful. And they went out and got a ton of talent. Like that offense, I feel like with any quarterback that has any decent quarterback in this league could do a lot with. And we've seen Caleb Williams still really struggling. You know what I mean? So,
so I think part of that is Caleb Williams is a rookie,
oh yeah, for sure,
obviously.
yeah,
He's just gonna have his growing pains. The other part of it is their offensive line is terrible. Well, just an awful offensive line.
right, yeah.
And their offensive coordinator is making some strange calls on like I don't know what they're trying to do on offense with that group. Like they have no running game. Like poor DeAndre Swift, who's on his 3rd team in 5 years, I think.
Yeah, which is crazy to me because I felt like DeAndre Swift had a really good year in the beginning of the year with the Eagles when they were actually using him. Then they just kind of stopped using him. So I actually thought DeAndre Swift to the Bears was actually a good move. You know what I mean? Better than any running back they had since they let go of Montgomery. But
So that's back to your point about where situation matters because
yep,
he was in the Eagles, which was one of the best run
best offensive
offenses
lines,
of the
yeah, for
last
sure.
couple years.
Yep,
An
very true.
awesome offensive line, and I don't know, is he still waiting to break out? Because he is on his 3rd or 4th team in 5 years.
You're gonna need
So
to.
if anybody believed in him, why didn't the Eagles keep him? Why didn't Detroit keep him?
Yeah,
Maybe he's not good, but
in,
it doesn't
in,
help that maybe he's not good and he has an awful offensive line.
right, as well as the injury resume too. He gets injured pretty easily. Pop said about the quarterback stuff. He said it's crap. They just make most of this stuff up. I'd agree there.
Yeah, they're just pulling stats out of their butt every
Yep,
week. They're just trying to figure out how to highlight guys. But I mean,
exactly.
I just wanted to mention on Anthony Richardson. Isn't he like the kind of quarterback who's like so strong he doesn't know how to harness his own strength yet?
Yes, because his receivers are getting so super open, and he is like overthrowing them so often. Like it's kind of crazy. It's really bad. They've got a pretty decent receiving core over there, and I'm forgetting the receiver's name. It's Alec.
Alec Pierce.
Yeah, Alec Pierce. Dude has like some monster passes and like all 3 games so far this year just going deep, and Anthony Rich is connecting, but he's missing on like everything else. So he's
Yeah,
definitely got to get back in the lab and work on some of those
he needs to work
intermediate
on
throws and
his touch. He just needs to work on his touch. He's just kind of like he's like a shotgun right now. Like he's
yeah,
just
seriously.
shooting spring everywhere. That
Seriously.
sounded a little a little innuendo right there. Sorry, you could censor that out if you want.
no,
I think
bro.
he's interesting because when I saw that one bomb to Alec Pierce in week 1, I was
Yeah,
like, oh wow, he stumbled. He just launches it. And he just kind of arcs the ball up. He's not really throwing like a dart to
right,
Alec Pierce.
right.
So like when you're throwing a long ball like that, you're basically playing 500. So it's a lot of time for your receiver to get downfield if he's athletic enough. So
Fun childhood game right there. 500.
yeah, so he's strong. He can launch it. If his receivers can get there, it's a good play. If not, then but he's got to work on his touch.
Definitely. Saw this from Unkin here. Said Andy Dalton turning back time. So let's kind of get back in. Not actually, I'm trying to. Yeah, you said something earlier too, Unc. Where was it? My bad. Not Andy Dalton. I'm thinking about. I could have sworn you had said something about Sam Darnold, but I could have imagined it. But turning back, talking about second chances, you know what I mean? Let's go into the next game, Vikings versus Texans. There it is. Sam Darnold showing up. Playing extremely well through 3 weeks, in my opinion, for the Vikings. Also, just talking about situational football, you know what I mean? Being in good situations, a team with weapons, a team with good coaching and just a great spot for him to land in, coming from the 49ers last season, and he's got the Vikings 3-0, and it's not to me, it's not. I know it's early, but it's been good football. You know what I mean? It's not something where they're just, we're going to rely on our run game and defense. Like Sam Darnold's actually out there. I think he had 3 touchdowns in this game.
He had 4.
4, even better. You know what I'm saying? So, and the Texans are a good team. Like they're a good team. They have a great head coach. You know what I'm saying?
Are they a good team? Are we sure they're a good team?
Right. I guess. Yeah. Good point. They don't look as polished or as good this year as they did last year in Stroud's rookie year, but they do still have a winning record through 3 weeks, which is not saying much. It's only 2-1. But yeah,
Here's
man.
the thing.
I don't know. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts on this game?
Everybody had the Texans as the AFC championship contender this year before the season started. They do not look like an AFC championship game contender at all. They have no running game. Throw out week 1 because that was against the Colts. I know what's his name? Joe Mixon had 130 yards against the Colts. Colts, one of the worst run defenses in the league, so just throw that out. Have not had a semblance of a running game to even speak of for the last 2 weeks, and that's really hurt the offense.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you have your first year player or a breakout player where nobody really knows what the plan is against this guy at first.
Yeah.
That's why he had a lot of success last year. He was very composed with his offense, but that's a year of game tape for people. So
for sure,
when you go up against someone like the Vikings, they're going to be prepared for that game, and they were. So
yeah, definitely were.
Awesome coaching combo, KOC and Brian Flores.
Yeah, dude. Brian Flores had everything for them, man. He did.
Ratting out Tua.
I know, right? For sure, dude. I think for Stroud, this was definitely going to be a tough game regardless, just because he's going against Brian Flores, right, and that defensive mind. And like you said, they have no run game, so I still think it kind of shows a little bit that he's still able to win the games without it. But hopefully they can get that offense going, because I think Joe Mixon still has some run in him, and don't be one-sided. Don't get to a point where you're one-sided and everything's going to be on CJ Stroud, because he is still young, right? He is still learning, and he is still going to make some mistakes. So let's try to keep those mistakes to a minimum and try to get that offense just more flowing the way it was last year. So make that sophomore year, make a sophomore year just as successful as his freshman one was.
Yeah, Stroud last year second in EPA on deep passes, just behind Brock Purdy. Not really seeing that this year yet. So that probably has to do with that they don't have a running game, so they can't run any play action stuff for him. So it'll be interesting to see if they do anything. When does Joe Mixon come back? He got hit with the hip drop tackle, right?
I saw that. He was complaining about it as well.
Yeah. Sam Darnold for MVP?
That was wild.
He leads the league in touchdowns right now.
Yeah, man. It's funny. Let's talk about that actually. So Sam Darnold having another really, he's having a great year. Yeah, it's like we talked about having a great year. I think I have him right now, in my opinion, for comeback player of the year, maybe. You know what I mean? Or are they still doing most improved? You know what I mean?
Is it really comeback player of the year? Wouldn't it just be finally showing up award?
Very, very true. Finally,
what is he coming back from?
Getting a real shot.
DeMar Hamlin died. He came back to life.
Yeah, literally. But I think that if he keeps playing this well, and the Vikings find themselves, maybe in the second round of the playoffs, they can get through the first, things of that nature. I think he has a really solid shot, especially if he keeps playing like this. In my opinion, right now, I think number 1 right now is Josh Allen. I think number 2 is still Patrick Mahomes, which I disagree with. I know Anthony will say that's his boy, but I think right now, I think he's got 5 interceptions on the year. You know what I mean? And they're barely getting by in some of these wins. They could very easily be 0-3 at best, 1-2 right now, even though they're undefeated. So I would
Sam Darnold's 30-1 right now.
3-1. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would put Sam Darnold at number 2 in my opinion, just below Josh Allen for MVP, especially if we can keep this up.
I think Aaron Rodgers will probably be 2 or 3, depending on how they get through the next 3-4
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
If they
Good
play
point.
well, if they get out of that 3-1 and they play well, I think he's definitely going to be up there. But
Definitely.
Josh Allen, oh my God, I'm terrified of Josh Allen right now.
Right? Ravens Bills this week.
Yeah,
This week,
I
man.
don't feel great about it.
I feel you, brother. Kind of a game I think a lot of people. This might have been the upset. Mahomes is MVP every year. Pops, you're not lying. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't even matter what kind of a year he has. He's just up for MVP or at least in the conversation.
Get out of here with that legacy stuff. You don't get automatic MVPs.
No, for sure, man. I think it's funny. I mean we'll talk about the Chiefs when we get to that game. But Broncos Buccaneers, this might have been the upset of the week in my opinion. I don't think anyone had the Broncos beating the Buccaneers, and not only beating them, but beating them by 19, maybe 26-7. That's
Yeah, I imagine it was a popular survival pick.
no doubt. Yeah, 100%, man. I don't think anyone called that one correctly, and if they did, congrats to you. Bo Nix actually looked really good in that game, and the defense was just ready for Baker and the team.
Yeah, I didn't watch this one, so tell me what happened. Like, what did the Broncos do?
So I think they were I think Bo Nix actually ran quite a bit. So he's athletic, but I don't think he uses it enough. And I think that was part of their game plan. Like, we need to get you moving around to open up the offense, and it worked, right? So I think he had his best game on the ground as a quarterback in his early career, and I think it really got the Buccaneers defense kind of caught off guard. And I think just in Broncos have had a good defense, right? They have easily, top 3 cornerback, top 2, depending on who you're talking to, and Patrick Surtain. And aside from the connection with not Mike Evans, what's the other guy's name? What's the Buccaneers' other receiver's name? Chris
Godwin?
Yeah, Chris Godwin. Aside from the connection with Chris Godwin, they couldn't get anything going on the ground or on the other side of the line and the other receiver spot. So
is their offensive line injured, the Bucs?
I don't know. I honestly don't pay enough attention to that team to know, but that it could have been. But I just think it was weird. They just really couldn't get anything going. Really surprised me. The game wasn't completely out of reach at halftime, and then after halftime, Broncos continued to score, and Bucs had nothing. They had nothing to go for them. So just another game in which they kind of fell short.
So, somewhat related, Dave Canales, real, not real? Is Baker good on his own?
I think he had a great first 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So I feel I kind of want to see him continue without him. You know what I mean? But I would say I'm a believer, right? I'm a believer in Dave Canales. I think what he did for Baker last year and the first couple of games was great. Geno Smith, also a product of Dave Canales, who's also been playing fairly well. I'm missing one, and Russell Wilson. He's also a part of the Russell Wilson championship stuff, right? And we've seen how Russell Wilson has played since no longer having Dave Canales, right? So I'm a believer. And then obviously you get into the Panthers game, which we could talk about next. Honestly, Panthers against the Raiders, and Andy Dalton brought that up as well. Andy Dalton, the resurgence of him turning back time. And man, I'll touch base on this really quick and kind of hear what you have to say about it. But I loved it. I've been really complaining about Bryce all last year. I understand that it wasn't all 100% his fault, obviously. He's a young, smart kid. I just don't feel like he has the NFL body, if you will. You know what I mean? Kid's got me and
He's
Bryce.
An outlier.
Yeah, me and Bryce looked exactly the same my senior year in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had the
You're
same
a foot taller than him.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, seriously. So I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he can turn it around and just kind of figure some things out. Because it sucks when you draft a player first overall and you already kind of have lost faith in him, right? So for me, I talked about this last week. I felt like it was going to be a win-win situation if Andy Dalton came in against the Raiders, who surprisingly have, I think, a top 5 defense in the league right now, surprisingly. And if he could just move the offense and get us anywhere between 20 and 27, 20 and 24 points in the game, even if we lose, it's win-win almost, because it shows and proves that it's not necessarily Dave Canales' system. It proves that it's not necessarily, that, he can't help, the quarterback play. But more than likely really is just Bryce. You know what I'm saying? So everything went well for the Panthers against the Raiders in Las Vegas. It wasn't even a home game. So ground game was well. Chuba Hubbard ran the ball well. The ball was being distributed to all the receivers. Deontay Johnson had his best game in quite a while as a receiver, not just a Panther, just a receiver in general, coming over from Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And I mean, dude, I think he had 3 touchdown passes in the first half, ended with, I think, 4 over 300 yards.
First quarterback to go over 300 and have 3 passing touchdowns this season.
Yeah, man. So you look at that and you hope, we got the Bengals this week. we saw.
Oh wait, yeah, I don't know. Maybe did Joe Burrow already surpass that?
He did. Yeah, he did. So okay. Joe Burrow ended up doing it. He had 303 touchdowns as well in the later game last night. But you know what? Andy Dalton did it first. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to stick with that. You know what I mean? First player to do it this season. So
you know what this means, right?
Nah, what do you think?
It means that it really was Bryce that was the problem with this offense.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, think about this. Last year, when Frank Wright was still the coach, Bryce Young had a ankle injury, right? He missed 1 week. It was super random. No one really knows when he got the injury. And in that game, Andy Dalton also threw for 396 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The same team when everyone was complaining about Frank Wright's coaching. We had no offensive line. Receivers couldn't get any separation, and he threw for damn near 400 yards and 2 TDs. You know what I'm saying? So, I think you and I both do this a lot. I think we watch players, you know what I mean, and how they perform. And we talk about this week after week, and I watched Bryce all last year, probably more so than I actually did the Panthers games, right? And yes, there were a lot of issues, but one of my biggest problems was just his decision-making and the inaccuracy and him just not willing to throw farther than 4 yards off the line of scrimmage. And even when he had, ample time to throw the ball when the offensive line held up, he was overthrowing or underthrowing or throwing behind. And, I just didn't see it. And I was hoping that we would see something this year. They didn't play at all in the preseason, which I thought was crazy. So that was one thing I had against Dave Canales this year was this team is not in a position to not play in the preseason, right? Like there's
what are they saving him for?
Exactly. Like there is no way this team shouldn't have played in the preseason. And they played one, I think in the 3rd preseason game, they played 1 series, right? And they scored a touchdown. So but you go back to weeks 1 and 2, and I know Dave Canales basically came out and was like, no, Bryce is our quarterback, blah, blah, blah. But I think after he watched the tape, watched the film from week 2, I think he had to call it. Like he had, like my job is also on the line here. You know what I mean? If I can't prove that my system at least works, it's a wrap for me. You know what I mean? So I hats off to him for making that decision. I know it's difficult when you use the first overall pick in the draft on a quarterback. You're kind of a lot of times you give him at least 3 years, right? It's like he got 3 years to make it work, kid. And I'm kind of happy that he's pulling the plug a little bit early because he has to at least prove that the system works. And if Bryce can't make it work in the system after a game like Andy Dalton had, something's wrong. You know what I mean? So, what are your takes on the game? What does everyone's takes on the game in the comments? I want to kind of see what everybody thought of it. I'm really hoping they can continue over next week and make the Bengals 0-4. You know what I'm saying? But
it's pretty damning. I think last week when Bryce had that one rollout and he was trying to throw downfield, and then he doesn't even throw the ball away. He just takes a sack near the sideline. I don't know. It brought me back to like Sam Darnold. Like, do you think that there's any team that could take Bryce in as a reclamation project?
Dude, I'm looking at 2 teams that, in my opinion, really need a quarterback. Miami, I think Coach McBride did very well with Tua, who kind of the same build. He's not as small as Bryce is, but I'd say 2 quarterbacks that are on the smaller side.
I mean, that's a great
we
offense
owned.
too, because you have
That's what I'm saying. You get a
a lot
speedy,
of athletic
exactly.
skill players,
Tyreek
and the
Hill,
offensive system is basically like, run the plays but throw into space.
exactly.
So
So
I
I
mean,
think,
Tua does that already. He throws with, I don't know if it's him throwing with anticipation or just throwing into space.
yeah, I think. Well, I think a lot of it's anticipation. I think when you have two of the fastest receivers in the league, in Waddle and Tyreek Hill, it makes it kind of easy to anticipate where they should be or where he knows they can be because they are that fast. You know what I mean? A lot of the plays he throws to them, if it's a deep ball, 9 times out of 10, Tyreek Hill's got to come back to it because he just doesn't have the arm. But it works because he's already dipping on his cornerback, and by the time he has to come back, the cornerback runs into him, he get a PI call, or it just kind of works in his favor. Or if he throws an underneath route, Tyreek Hill is fast enough to take it to the house. So it works. You know what I mean? It definitely works there. So if and kind of getting back into that win-win situation, it's also kind of like win-win-lose in the sense of every game that the Panthers go forward with Andy Dalton doing well lowers Bryce Young's trade value. You know what I'm saying? Like it really does, because it's like, damn, this kid's had 18 games, because technically he missed a game last year, 18 games, and not one game can you go and say, you know what, this game we got to see what he's capable of. Not one. Like, he hasn't had even one of the games they won last year against the Texans. I think the game was 10-9.
Yeah.
It was like it was really bad.
That
He
was
won
very
the
strange.
last second field goal. You know what I mean? Like he has nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that you almost want to get rid of him quickly, because the deeper we get and the better we play, if it happens, crossing my fingers, you kind of lose, like, well, damn, man, if Andy Dalton's playing this well in the system and Bryce couldn't get nothing going, why would we want him? You know what I mean? But also comes back to coaching ego. Does Mike McBride think he can fix him the way he fixed Tua? Because they were this close to giving up on Tua too until McBride got there and was like, nope, I can fix him. Don't worry about it. Let's keep him. And he did that, right? So I don't know.
System quarterback.
Yeah.
Who was the other team you had in mind for Bryce?
Sorry, I forgot. Raiders. Raiders are also a team probably desperate for a quarterback right now. I don't know if they can fix him or make it work with Bryce, as they don't have an offensive mind, but another team that's probably really desperate for a quarterback at the moment.
They might be trading Devontae Adams, and that Raiders team may end up being just as bad as the Panthers team.
Vex. Very, very true. I like what Pop says. The stunt that the Panthers played so well. Young has skills, and I think is sturdier than Tua. I'd agree with that. They're getting calls for him according to reports. I saw that. I think they declined four teams trades for him. So I'm imagining they probably are wanting more for him than what he's probably actually worth. I'm sure the Panthers, with all of the trade BS that they've done in the last 3 years, are probably trying to get a first-round pick for their first-round pick, and it's just not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So sooner or later, they got to trade him sooner than later if Dalton has a good game this week. If Dalton has another good game this week and they beat the Bengals, you got to get rid of Bryce and start over. Dalton may not be the future, but you can draft another quarterback later who can sit behind him. The Texans quarterbacks, both of them look phenomenal. We can't keep Bryce just molting on the sideline, doing absolutely nothing and getting nothing for him, man. We gotta let him go. You know what I'm saying?
So, what do you think of, is there a theory that Canales wanted to play Dalton to win games because he saw the rest of the division just absolutely tank after week 2?
I think I'd say a mixture of both, right? I'd say it's a mixture of, we have an opportunity to still win this division if I make a choice now, right? The Saints looked great in the first 2 weeks, right? But then not so much in week 3, right?
And who did they play in those first 2 weeks?
Right. I think one was us and Dallas, right?
Two of the worst rushing defenses.
Exactly. I don't think we have ever seen, aside from that 6 touchdown game that he had a year or so ago, but how often does the Saints running back rush for over 100 yards? It doesn't happen often. We talk about this year after year, right? He's not the greatest running quarterback, but he had a field day against the Cowboys last week. So I think it's a mixture of what you just said, and then also these coaches are also playing for their jobs, right? Uh, winning
Canales he's not there. I mean, he's a new coach. He's gonna do his, new coach culture thing, but you're paid to win. Like you gotta win games.
exactly, exactly. You're paid to get results, and if you're not getting results, especially nowadays, man, so many coaches are one and done. You know what I mean? Like so many coaches are one and done now, and in so many of these leagues, NBA and the NFL. So you gotta win, man. And honestly, uh, Panthers ownership, Panthers fans, bro, we are done, bro. Like we are so exhausted. You know what I mean? Especially with all the kind of BS that we've had over the last 3-4 years. Like the horrible trades and just the horrible coaching hirings and what I mean, all that stuff. It's just all a mixture of it. I think everybody from the top down to the fans, we're ready for results. We're ready for results. Any Panthers post that they post, it's nothing but just like hate comments, dog, from Panthers fans. It's nothing but hate comments. So he had to make a choice. He had to make a choice fast.
Okay, just real quick.
Yeah.
So Falcons scheduled next 6 weeks. Saints, Bucks, at the Panthers,
Mm-hmm.
home for the Seahawks, at the Bucks, home for the Cowboys.
That's Falcons?
That's the Falcons.
Next 6 games?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
Bucks upcoming. They have Eagles, at the Falcons, at the Saints, home for Baltimore, home for the Falcons, at the Chiefs.
Ooh, that's rough.
And then the Saints next 6 games at Falcons, at the Chiefs, home for the Bucks, home for the Broncos, at Chargers, at Panthers. I think the Panthers have the easier schedule out of all of those.
I think they do too, because we finished dead last season. So I think we definitely have the easier schedule.
You have the 0-3 Bengals this Sunday, and then you have Bears, Falcons, Commanders, Broncos, and Saints. And we don't know if any of the NFC South teams are real.
For sure. And our get back for the Saints, that's a home game this time. So I think if we're playing well, I think we have a chance to kind of get our get back against them. So hopefully we can at least make it 1-1 on the season. But yeah, man, let's just say we go 4-2 in that. You know what I mean? I think we're better off than the other 2 teams that you just named with their schedule. It's a little harder. And even with the Broncos getting a win this week, I still think they're not for real. Obviously, like a surprising win against the Bucks, but if the Panthers can play the way they played last week, and I got to put them against the Broncos, I'm taking the Panthers, 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, and they all play each other in the 6 weeks, and so they might end up being tied or like close to tied.
We could have a 3-way tie, seriously, in like I said, the next 6 weeks between the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers.
Good for my Panthers to win the division ticket.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man, because I've been exhausted. My thought process on just going full-time Ravens fan has been like this close, dog.
You picked the wrong year, my guy.
Hey, man, but
you're late.
Seriously. All right, let's get into it. I know a lot of Cowboys fans in the comments are waiting to get into it. Let's talk about the Cowboys versus the Ravens. This was an interesting game. Ravens, all Ravens first half, right? I mean, Derrick Henry looked like a 25-year-old Derrick Henry. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Not even just the first half, all through 3 quarters. Run game. I mean, he was making them look like kids. And we've seen him do it before, but Derrick Henry was just running through the Dallas Cowboys defense. Still really, really poor run defensive team. And something about them Texas-born boys, you know what I mean? And Derrick Henry, we talk about this too with Aaron Jones, same thing. Anytime Aaron Jones plays the Cowboys as well, he goes crazy for yards and multiple touchdowns on them. But man, give me your rundown, man. How you feeling? I know the first 2 weeks for the Ravens were rough. Close game week 1 though. Literally a toe, right? Go to at least take it into overtime, and that was rough.
Listen, they should have been undefeated last year. They should still be undefeated right now.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I felt okay about this game. I wasn't too thrilled after the comeback.
Yeah.
So it just makes me think that this team still has a lot to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the run game is like it finally happened, like as advertised.
Right. Right.
I think I still want to see more play action pass from them.
Yeah,
But at the same time, in this particular game, there was no reason to pass. They were absolutely thrashing the Cowboys in the ground.
exactly.
I don't know what the Cowboys were doing. They did not try to stop anything on the ground, and I was terrified that Micah Parsons was gonna feast on the right side of that offensive line, and he
True.
didn't
We talked
he
about this last
looked
week.
lost.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think, is this the first time Lamar played against the Cowboys with Micah
Cowboys.
Parsons?
I think so. I don't think they played in the last couple of seasons, so 3 seasons or so. So this might be the first time that they've played each other,
Oh
or
my
that he's
god,
the
on those zone reads, like, he had Micah Parsons looking the wrong way. It was insane. I did not expect that to happen, but, I mean, they looked so comfortable doing that, and I was just like, "I'll take it," but
was
was
working.
not happy about the end of that game, for sure.
You know,
We have the worst pass defense in the league, which is why I'm terrified that Josh Allen, who just dropped 250 and 4 touchdowns in 1 half, is about to go up
seriously
against this stupid pass defense
scary.
next
Is is
Sunday.
that game in Baltimore?
It is, yeah.
At least he got at least he got the home field advantage a little bit there. So hopefully they could do some things. But yeah, man, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm gonna kind of touch base on the Cowboys side. Pops, Stephanie, join in as well. For me, the Cowboys are a weird team, right? They're they have two studs on both sides, right? You got Micah Parsons on the defensive side, then you've got CD Lamb on the offensive side. On the defensive side, what I've noticed since Micah Parsons has come in, and he's an absolute stud, but he hasn't figured out yet either how to get off double teams. And if Micah Parsons can't get to the quarterback, the opposing teams usually have field days. Like they do. Like you kind of go back and kind of, so far this season, last season, like that is the key to really kind of beating the Cowboys. It's double team Micah, confuse Micah, put Micah in positions that he's not used to being in, and that defense falls apart, man. It definitely falls apart. And I think the pass rush, or even just the pass rush to getting to the quarterback, also kind of affects the secondary as well, right? If the quarterback has plenty of time to make decisions and get the ball to open receivers, their secondary is also still kind of mediocre. But when the quarterback has to make fast, rash decisions, that's when that secondary flourishes, right? That's when that secondary can get in there, get the interceptions, get the deflections, and things of that nature. So I feel like I don't know what to do about him, obviously, but I feel like Micah has to figure out kind of how to get off some of these blocks. And if he can just continue to learn and grow and to that nature, I think they'll be perfectly fine, right? On the opposite side of that,
I don't think he was double teamed that much in this game, which was
was he
kind of
not?
surprising. He just looked completely lost.
They were just really confusing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I didn't even realize that in this game because I was watching the Panthers game and things of that nature. But that's what I've normally seen with him is like he has a really hard time getting off double teams. And if he can't get to the quarterback, no one on that team's getting to the quarterback. You know what I mean? And on the opposite side of that spectrum, I feel like as great as CD Lamb is, Dak is the best when that ball is being distributed all over. You know what I'm saying? Like their offense is so much better when Dak is not focused on making CD Lamb happy and everyone else is touching the ball because the run game is non-existent, and it's been non-existent for 2 years now, right? So if they're going to throw the ball that much, the ball needs to be distributed to the other receivers instead of trying to make CD Lamb happy. And I think that's when their offense looks the best too. That's when Dak looks like an MVP of the league. That's when the Cowboys offense looks like one of the best in the league. And, I think both of those things kind of need to, you got to change it. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You're the quarterback. They just paid that, they just paid Lamb, so like he, work for your paycheck. You know what I'm saying? But it's like at the end of the day, do what's best for the team and get the team win. And if you're distributing the ball everywhere, you no longer can double team CD Lamb. You know what I mean? You got to go double team these other double team. They got to cover these other receivers. And if CD Lamb is in single coverage, it's money. It's all day. You know what I mean? It makes it easier for him. And I want to see what Pop said because I love hearing about what Pop's got to say about the team. He said, Cowboys' inability to stop the run has gotten worse. Either we fix this immediately or I will advise Mr. Jones to trade Parsons for as many picks as possible, use the picks and cap savings and restock. And that was something JJ had mentioned, if when he was talking to Dak about Dak's re-signing, if we give you this money, it's going to be kind of up to you to make things happen because we're not going to have money anywhere else to get you some more help, right? Pops also agreed. Oh,
is Dak the best quarterback they've had since like Troy Aikman?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think Romo was fun to watch because he had some receipt with To and what's his face, Des Bryant. With Des Bryant, it's kind of fun, you know what I mean, to be able to fling the ball downfield that way. But I don't think he was necessarily better than Dak, right? At least Dak has been able to kind of get them some playoff victories, right? So I think Dak is probably the best quarterback they've had since Troy Aikman.
I like Dak. I think because he's on the Cowboys, he gets a lot of unnecessary flack. But I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for.
Well, yeah, this is an MVP race year after year.
He was second last year.
Yep.
And then my guy finished the race.
Right. Pop said, what he say? He said exactly, and he claims he wants to be better than LT. Don't think LT ever had a scratch. Parsons had 0 sacks, pressures, or tackles in at least one game last year, right? Talking about it, he said for 32 to 35 million, he better get 2 sacks per game, which in my opinion, I think that's doable. You know what I mean? I think for someone of his caliber, for someone of his strength, I think it's doable. Pops, I talked about this. I don't remember if it was after Parsons' first year or during or prior to his first season, but it was early on. And I had mentioned, like, I think that a lot of football players nowadays don't work with NFL greats, right, at their position that I think that they could really learn a lot from. You know what I mean? Like, I think Michael Parsons could meet with a bunch of different players that have played his position or who were also great pass rushers who I think he could learn so much from, dude. I mean, like, think about some guys who are currently retired that he could learn from. You know what I mean? Bobby Wagner's still playing, but he could learn a lot from Bobby Wagner. He could learn a lot from Luke Kuechly. He could learn a ton from Aaron Donald. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of those guys who are just great pass rushers who are constantly double teamed all the time, who are also extremely intelligent. Like, Luke Kuechly is brilliant, right? Like, you talk about one of the smartest, probably middle linebackers to ever play the game, calling out teams' plays and then calling out their audibles. I mean, he was absolute genius. And I think something that Parsons could definitely do is learn from some of those guys in the offseason, because I think he just come back he's already good, man. He's already a really good player. I just think he
he's really good. I think he was the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year this year, but I don't think that's happening. Their defense is really bad.
Yeah, very true. And this is what I love. This is what I love too. Great point. And he will learn that they are not nice guys. Yeah, those guys that I just named are not. Those dudes were animals, right? They were absolute dogs. They were monsters. And I feel like our producer Marcus, he talks about this all the time. The defense on the Cowboys, they don't have that dog. They don't have that dude that he doesn't care about anybody's feelings on the opposing team. He's not trying to be anybody's friend. And I feel
like used to be DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. But like, they haven't really necessarily, I think, had that. And I think if Parsons can be that guy, you know what I'm saying? Just be that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're already the best player on the defense. Go out there and just be that dude. You know what I'm saying? Be their number one guy. Be that leader. You might be young, but you're officially the best player on that defense, man. Just take it over. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he could still learn a lot. He's still very young in his career, and I'm pretty sure he wants to continue to be a Cowboy.
Do you think the Cowboys? Do you think they throw the kitchen sink at rebuilding next year?
Yes.
They already locked their quarterback in. They already locked their top wide receiver in. They just have to lock Micah Parsons in, but it's kind of everything's on the table, right?
Yep, I think they do. So at the beginning of the season, before the season started, I had mentioned and it's still early, but because of the off season that both the Eagles and the Commanders had, I had the Cowboys finishing third this year in their division. And if they finish third in their division, if the Commanders can play to how their team looks on paper, they have a chance at winning the division, right? In my opinion. And Cowboys didn't have an offseason. Like I can't recall any move that they made aside from re-signing two important pieces, which is Dak and CeeDee Lamb, right? So
Can I get
think,
Pop's opinion? Is he yay or nay for re-signing Dak?
yay. I think Pops was yay on re-signing Dak.
Okay.
Pops, don't let me speak for you. You were yay on re-signing Dak, correct? He's exactly. We wait to get punched before the fight. We can't play well behind the lead. Yeah, I can't remember the statistics or the percentages behind it, but when the Cowboys play from behind, it is almost a guaranteed loss. Like like they do not play well when they're having to play from behind. That's why.
Did you see at the end of that game?
Yeah.
They interviewed Lamar Jackson and they asked him how much this win meant, and he's like, it meant a lot because there's a lot of people that were on suicide watch.
Yeah, I saw that, dude. I was like, dang, dog. Yeah, I saw that, bro. Like that's crazy, man. Like, and I get it. You go from AFC possible champions, one game from the Super Bowl, and you start off this rough, losing to the Chiefs, probably whatever. But then you go and lose to the Raiders. I'm sure they were like, yo, what is going on? You know what I mean? I'm sure that was a tough blow. Damn,
who's the suicide watch team then? Is it Jags or Bengals? I think it's the Jags.
You think it's the Jags?
I think it's the Jags.
I think they're both, man. I think the reason why I say Bengals is because and I say this in air quotes, expectation of the Bengals, you know what I'm saying, is that of who the Bills and say the Chiefs and the Ravens are, right? Joe Burrow, who, in my opinion, our opinion, is still living off that 2021.
Oh my God! People are just sniffing the fumes of that Super Bowl run.
Yeah, man, they're running on E when it comes to that run.
The way Bengals fans talk about him, that you would have thought he won that Super Bowl.
Fact. Sometimes I forget that he didn't. The way they talk about it. Pop said, yeah, 0-6 when I think probably this season and last season when Cowboys play from behind. They do not win those, man. And Pops says yes, he was for Dak getting signed, and I agree with it. But I do think Pops has a good point, man. If things continue to go downhill and they still keep losing some of these games, like Parsons can get you a solid amount of picks. You know what I mean? Like he can get you a solid amount of picks, I believe. So
I was just thinking about that the other day. I'm like, does Parsons seem like a lifetime Cowboy? And I was like, I didn't really feel like he seemed like a lifetime Cowboy.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I think JJ wants championship, and I think he's willing to do anything to do it. Obviously, you look at Ezekiel Elliott, and he did a lot for them those first couple of years. You know what I'm saying? And they let him go in a heartbeat, even though they brought him back. You know what I'm saying? So if things ain't working out, and like Pop said, if they don't end up playing well for the remainder of the season, maybe you do look at trading Parsons instead of paying, because if they pay Parsons next year, they have $0. You know what I'm saying? Like they have no money for literally anything, and it's just going to be really, really tough. Literally, the only player they'll be able to throw to next season will be CeeDee Lamb, and no money to pay any of the other defensive players on the defense next year. Because I'm pretty sure did Diggs get a contract extension yet or not yet? Is he up for one yet?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember if he did. But we'll talk about this really quick, and then I want to get into two more things. We talked a lot. It's already 7:00, but I'll talk about two more things. Jaguars.
That's enough Cowboys. Yeah.
What's up?
I said that's enough Cowboys talk.
Right. Jaguars stunning 0-3. They have not looked good on any side of the football. And
they're the suicide watch team.
Definitely, man. They got a Josh Allen game yesterday was like if he's not your MVP, I really don't know who is. You know what I'm saying? Like Darnold's having a great season for Sam Darnold in general in Minnesota, but man, like he murdered them. Like they didn't even I think Matt Jones came in to play that game at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you put Matt Jones in the game like this.
I think Josh Allen made one pass in the second half.
Something like that. And I think something like that. I think he had one pass to Shakur, I think. And after that, they like, all right, you're done, dogs. Like, we've seen enough. But the only thing.
Clear MVP. He's the clear MVP right now.
For sure.
Barring injury or like.
I really wanted to touch on after that was Commanders and Bengals, man. watching earlier, we talked about Caleb Williams and kind of his struggles in Chicago, and we're seeing the complete opposite with Jaden Daniels, rookie out of LSU for the Commanders. So it's kind of dope that he's drafted out of LSU and he gets to go against Joe Burrow, and he just showed him up all last night, man. I think he had 2 incompletions on the night, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, so 3 total touchdowns. And man, bro just looked poised, man. Like he looked like he was never. I mean, he's just looked really, really good so far. I talked about a little bit ago their off season accusations, and it kind of sucked that you got to see Eckler go down with a concussion during the game, but it didn't matter. Yeah. Terry McLaurin had a 100-yard game, which we haven't really seen him have in a little while because they've had poor quarterback play.
So happy to have a good quarterback.
Facts, dude, facts. And I just think he played so well. I think if he continues to play this way the remainder of the season, I think offensive rookie of the year is his. Caleb Williams, in my opinion, has a lot of catching up to do for him to kind of get back in the conversation. But right now, Jaden Daniels looked phenomenal. What do you think?
I think we picked the wrong team to say that the rookie quarterback was in the best situation when we were talking about Caleb Williams to the Bears.
Seriously.
I think it was definitely Daniels to the Commanders.
Yeah, man.
I think that team looks awesome. The cool thing about his situation is it's not like an elite team by any means.
Right.
You know, got a good receiver, decent running back.
Yeah, 2 decent running backs.
Solid offensive coordinator. I know Cliff Kingsbury is probably not popular around these parts, but it was cool to see him have that poise and just be a rookie, and like Cliff Kingsbury was like letting him run loose.
Yeah,
like he could do whatever he want. Like he could take chances. It's like you're up against the Bengals. You're either going to put up a fight and lose really bad, or you can just put up a fight and do whatever you want and just throw the kitchen sink at them and try to win the game. And that's kind of what happened for them. So they really had nothing to lose, and it ended up being a really cool game.
For sure. And I think this is a game that the Commanders build off of, right? They've been bad. Like they've been historically bad for a while, right? For a really long time. And I think this is a game that you can look at and say, you know what? Like no one's expectation of us is high. Like I have them second, even possibly winning this division if the Eagles slack up at all. You know what I mean? Like if they I think on paper they have damn near just as good of a team as the Eagles do, like on paper, right? Obviously not the offensive line. If the Eagles can get their defense really running the way they should be able to run, then no, this is the Eagles division for this year. But I think on paper, they made so many great acquisitions, and Dan Quinn is a great defensive mind. So the defense is going to get better as the year goes on. And if they can just continue, and obviously Dan Quinn knows the Eagles and the Cowboys very well. You know, he's been in this division for the last couple of years as well. Great game to build off of, man. No one's expecting them to be good. And if they can go out there and continue to surprise some of these teams, good teams, or teams that are supposed to be good, I think they have a solid team for the future, man. But they definitely got their quarterback for the future, that's for sure. And I laughed last night, but I feel like Jaden Daniels is the quarterback that Kingsbury hoped he had in Kyler Murray, you know what I'm saying, in Arizona. So
he's about a foot and a half taller than him, so he runs the offense better. He's got the height advantage over Kyler.
That's very true. That's very true.
I don't know if I think that the Commanders can win the division, but I think that the Cowboys and the Eagles can lose the division to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't think
that is better worded than how I put it. I think it's up to them. Everybody thinks it's going to be Cowboys or Eagles, but if they're not careful, they can lose it. You know what I'm saying? So good way.
Yeah, I don't know if this defense is going to get better. They are awful as a pass defense. I mean,
I think
they burned him on what was that that long touchdown pass to Jamar Chase. I mean, that was just like a simple, run pass play action play, and he was just like T. Higgins on one side, Jamar Chase on the other side. Let's see who beats their defenders.
For sure, dude. For sure.
It'll be fun to watch. Commanders play in Baltimore, I think, in week 5.
Ooh, that'll be a fun game, especially because Jaden Daniels is also a very mobile quarterback. He's been averaging about 40 yards a game.
Careful. Careful.
Oh, not comparing him.
Don't.
Not comparing him. He's mobile. He's got some legs on him. He is not as 50 or as fast as Lamar, but kid's got some legs on him, and he keeps the defenses on their toes as well because you gotta prepare for it, right? This kid can throw. He can make the passes that quarterbacks should be able to make at this in the league, and he'll take off on you if he doesn't see anything. So, but I think that's a great kind of overview of NFL Week 3. I want to thank everybody for kind of joining us this week. Again, special shout out to my boy A-Dub, and can't wait to meet the baby, man. Thank you to my boy Dave, co-host for today, man. I appreciate you coming on and rocking with me, man. I love to be able to kind of, bounce this stuff off of somebody else, and I really appreciate you jumping on and joining me, dude.
Thanks, man. This was a lot easier than having to text our thoughts back and forth.
For sure, dude. For sure, man. We got to get together, man. I think did the Ravens play the Cardinals this year? Or did they play at Cardinals?
No, that was last season.
That was last season. Okay, damn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we gotta get together, man. We gotta get a drink or hit a game. Depending on who they play this season in AZ. But love you, miss you, and I'm gonna play this outro. And it's your boy Strizzy. And we'll holler at you next week, next Tuesday, man. Peace.
Cool.